What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Past Gas. This week, we're talking about tractors, earth movers, excavators, machines that weigh over 1 million pounds. That's what we're talking about today. It's Caterpillar, the one and only. You guys have seen these everywhere, and now I think we're going to see them a lot more now that we know what we're looking for. Let's get into it. Over 130 years ago, in a muddy, flooded California valley on the far side of the American frontier, an ambitious inventor sought to do the impossible, create a machine that could drive over the undrivable. This man's name was Benjamin Holt, and his invention was a new type of tractor with a new type of drivetrain. He dubbed this new continuous track technology a Caterpillar tractor, and while he knew he had created something great, it's doubtful that he could have predicted how far-reaching the influence of his company would stretch. Since its founding nearly a century and a half ago, the Caterpillar has had a role in nearly every history-making landmark since. So, how did a fledgling tractor company with a weird name survive 2 world wars and near insolvency to metamorphose into the world's largest heavy machinery company? And why the heck did they pick such a silly name? Buckle into your air ride swivel seat. On today's Past Gas, we're talking about Caterpillar. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Welcome to Past Gas. My name is Nolan Sykes. Joined as always, across from me, Bart Bidlingmeyer.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
And to my left, Joe Weber.
What's up, Slime Nation?
Drinking a cup of Joe.
Slime.
Cup of slime.
For legal purposes, I'm drinking slime. I'm sponsored by slime, so.
You're full of slime.
Yeah.
You got to mention
Part of your sponsorship.
Got to mention
like,
your sponsors.
Put a high-pressure hose in your mouth and filled you up with the green slime stuff.
Yeah, so I don't leak at all.
So if you get stabbed, you're good, right?
Sure, this is new. That's a new donut hat.
This is actually a one-off.
Okay. I was noticing it's not the wool.
No, it's almost unstructured, 6-panel. I think
Nice.
I got it from the upstairs table one time.
Oh.
But I wish we made it. Let us know in the comments if you guys want us to make this. The intro made me think of, did you guys know that Central California used to have the biggest lake in the U.S.?
Yeah.
And then because of all the agriculture, they just kind of drained it.
Well, it would fill up and it would vary in size.
Because of the rainy season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes. And then they diverted everything so that they could farm it.
Yeah.
And it recently filled up again because of all the rains that we've had.
Yeah, it flooded a bunch of farmland a couple of years in a row, actually. But I always think that's crazy that if you look at on a map, like it was almost as big as like a Great Lake.
And that's where
bigger than a Great Lake. Yeah.
I believe in Sacramento and the Delta there, like the name
Sacktown.
Sacktoe, like that the Native Americans used to live there. And then,
I mean, you could say that's this whole country.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, they lived in that region, and then, the American settlers came into the area and built like way too close to the water, and then the Native Americans were like, "Guys, that's like it's too close."
And they're like, "Shut up!" And then they killed them, and then
that like they flooded and like destroyed the first iteration of Sacramento, and then they had to rebuild again because they didn't listen.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody.
Listen to the land.
Yeah, listen to the land. Guys, we need to listen to the land.
We'll be right back after these messages. This podcast is sponsored by Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PassGas. Just go to Indeed.com/PassGas right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/PassGas. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. This podcast is sponsored by Hims. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your own couch. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/gas. That's HIMS.com/gas for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/gas. The featured products include compounded products which are not approved nor verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Now back to the show.
Caterpillar, what do you guys know about these tractors?
I can tell you that they are so ubiquitous, and I didn't realize it until the script came up. But like, I saw 3 on the way here.
Whoa!
Did
you drive through a construction site?
Well, there's the 110. They're doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
There has been one on my block for a week because they're redoing the curb. Like, it's just.
Someone street parked it? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's got a lot of tickets. And then they had to bring the tow truck was also a cat. So no, but I don't. When you do a car, it's like I started seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those episodes where people are going to be like, "Holy shit, they're everywhere."
Yeah. You just kind of are immune to it now because they're all over.
I do wonder if they have like a undercover super high brand recognition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if
right,
the average layperson saw the cat logo, like they immediately know what that is.
They also have boots.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Like they have workwear.
Yeah.
I don't think this script even gets into that stuff, but it's crazy just how many pots they have their little their caterpillar legs.
Yeah, their buckets in.
They're tiny
caterpillar
legs.
Yeah.
I could see them becoming. I always think of like what's the next Carhartt, because they're like workwear cycles in and out. Like this is workwear.
Yeah.
Ben Davis, I love this company.
Dickies.
I'm wearing Harriet boots right now.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is going to be the next like hipster workwear? I could see it being Caterpillar if they really like focus on good branding.
I want to posit this. That would be almost like Caterpillar is the Harley Davidson of workwear in that way.
So it was like, I don't think it was ever big enough to become corny after a while, though. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Harley Davidson got corny, and that's when it started getting cool again.
Fair. Yeah. I've never seen any like airbrush t-shirts of Caterpillar tractors.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of sick.
But their logo and their colors are amazing. They're basically the donut colors.
Yeah. And that makes them cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes them real cool.
We should just do a donut logo in their font.
Huh. Yeah, we wouldn't get sued for that, I'm sure.
No, a yellow shirt with black.
That's kind of sick.
We've never done a yellow colorway, huh?
We have done a yellow shirt once. That's for like a limited edition thing.
Probably didn't do very well.
Well,
we had the Dayglow yellow one.
We had that one, like worksite neon yellow, but also we did have a yellow shirt. I forget what it was for. It was a super limited thing. Anyway, it's not important.
I just love talking merch.
Yeah, you love that hat, that 6-panel hat.
Yeah. I did make
Joe's
some.
The merch mercenary.
The mercenary.
If you guys like to drink coffee and you're in your car sometimes and you like to do both of those things at once, I did make some Donut Podcasts thermoses, coffee thermoses, just for the homies.
Yeah.
But if that's something that you would like to buy, let us know in the comments or hit us up at.
Oh, can I take one of those home?
Yeah, I have a bunch of them.
All right.
Yeah.
They're decent. They're decent thermite.
They're really good.
Decent thermite.
I went through 4 or 5 different samples being like, this isn't good enough. I want better printing. I want better blah, blah, blah. So they're really nice quality.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, shall we get into the story of Caterpillar here?
Let's do it.
What does a caterpillar sound like, first of all? Yeah, he's eating a leaf.
Yeah. The very hungry caterpillar. Oh, is Eric Carl going to be mentioned in this?
Yeah, I think most of it's about Eric Carl.
That's what it was about, right? Very hungry caterpillar? Is that not?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, he's still alive. Oh, he died a couple years ago. Okay.
Wow,
R.I.P.
Very hungry caterpillar also has some great merch.
Yeah, they do. I got Wyatt, the little actual like caterpillar guy.
Yeah. My kid's got magnetiles.
Oh, nice.
Very hungry caterpillar. Magnetiles, great.
Yeah.
A great invention.
Farming has always been a tough way to make a living, but in the 1890s, the emergence of steam machinery was stoking the hopes that something would come along to help make it a little less draining and a whole lot more productive.
There's steam decks is what made the time pass faster.
Yes. Many hopeful innovators figured that if they could be the first to figure out a way to create a hand-propelled farm machine, they'd have it made. The guy that finally put these hopes into action was one Benjamin Holt. He and his brothers had set up a business in California's San Joaquin Valley, which was, at the time, pretty much surrounded by the logging industry. This California valley was attracting the turn-of-the-century pioneers who wanted to make their fortunes off this fertile land.
This is like outside of Stockton?
Yeah.
Where my homie Matt Cordova's from. Shout out to Stockton.
Shout out to
has
huge valley.
The most handsome criminals in the world.
Much of the lumber from the surrounding forests was being used to make wheels for the fledgling horseless carriage industry.
Hey, cars. That's what we talk about here.
We talk about.
It all comes together.
But the valley was so humid that the wooden wheels manufactured there didn't last long. Holt's first big idea was an innovative way of drying wood that made it stronger and more resilient. Ben and his brothers founded the Stockton Wheel Service in 1883, and they quickly built a reputation for making the best wheels in the West. This was all well and good, but Holt quickly saw the need for a new kind of machine that could help tame the Wild West lands.
I wonder what drying technique that was.
The
Just blowing a vape on it?
Just fanning it. That wheel company still exists.
They have really good reviews on Google.
Yeah.
I looked them up.
They make like wagon wheels still, or?
No, they make wheels that you would put on a car now.
Okay, cool. All right.
Maybe they do. I mean, maybe they, I actually didn't see, I didn't look into that. I don't know if they.
I didn't click the wagon tab on their website.
Stockton Wheel Service. In 1890, Benjamin Holt built his first experimental steam traction engine that he nicknamed Old Betsy. Old Betsy would also be the nickname of Caterpillar's first diesel engine that would come 4 years later. Holt's first tractor made 60 horsepower from a single-stroke steam engine.
That's pretty good, actually.
You could fire the burner with pretty much anything combustible that you could get your hands on. Wood, coal, oil, you name it. The fuel heated 675 gallons of water, and soon this 24-foot-long, 48,000-pound behemoth on metal wheels was chugging along.
How many gallons did you say?
675 gallons.
That's enormous.
Yeah.
That's a huge.
I wonder how long that, like, what the MPGs would be.
How many times you had to refill that?
Yeah. Because you also, there's like two different forms of fuel. I guess the water would end up being the propellant, and the fuel would be whatever the combustible thing is.
It's under discussed, but wouldn't it be great to fill up your car with water?
Oh, it'd be great.
Remember that guy who made that guy? Wood? Yep, the guy who made that water engine.
Elon Musk.
Have we talked about that on the show? The story behind all that?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
There's like the urban legend of like a guy who built a water-powered engine, and then like government goons came to his house and either like persuaded him to stop building it or killed him, depending on the story.
Yeah, there's many different iterations.
We should talk about that though. That's a fun one.
That reminds me of this dude on Instagram.
Urban Legends would be a good episode.
Yeah, we should do Urban Legends.
Write it down.
That reminded me of this guy I follow on Instagram that he's like a backyard scientist in Atlanta. And he made a machine that turns plastic waste into gasoline.
Oh, to unpetroleumify it or something?
And it's like a crazy process that uses this like, it's like a cement mixer looking thing, but it has microwaves blasting the plastic while it's in there, and it's like seems really dangerous. He's also like
one of his
really
eyes is like moving upwards on his head after using it.
There is a compilation of him like ending up in the hospital over and over again. But he makes like it is like he calls it plastiline or something like that. Everyone in the comments is like, can't wait for this guy to just disappear.
The draw of Holt's tractor was his largely uncontested claim that it could harvest large fields for 1/6 the cost of a horse-drawn combine. Foresters soon adapted them to haul redwood logs out of roadless forests, and the Holt Tractor Company was born. Sales were pretty good, as Holt was pretty much the only name in the game. The biggest complaint he was getting, however, had largely to do with the springtime soil of the San Joaquin Valley. It sucked. It was fertile, yes, but as the snowpack thawed off of the surrounding mountaintops, the basin became a big old mud bowl, and the 24-ton Holt Company tractors became useless. As a wheel expert, Holt's first thought was to make the wheels bigger and wider. 7 feet tall by 6 feet wide, to be exact.
That's his first idea.
That's like something from Star Wars. Right? That's like
it's also, they say, don't go with your first idea.
Yeah.
Right.
It's honestly, there are tractors that have tires that big. Maybe not that wide, but that tall.
Some of those tractors nowadays.
The one that Jackie Chan is like jumping around on in Operation Condor.
I can't remember that.
I
mean, we all remember the historic Operation Condor, but not all of us are privy to the details.
It might have been Who Am I?
Okay.
But he goes, I don't want any trouble. And then he beats up 1 million people. You remember that movie?
It's like,
I don't want any trouble.
It's all over.
Yeah. Holt also thought to widen the wheelbase, which made the tractor 48 feet wide.
Damn. What? That's the whole basin.
Holt took a step back and thought, maybe I could figure out some way to make some temporary roads out of wooden planks. I bet I could sell more of these. But building temporary roads would be a huge endeavor, and Holt knew there had to be a better solution. Then the idea hit him. Instead of laying planks to make temporary roads, why not put them on the tractor and effectively take a temporary road with him?
Make your own road.
Yeah,
you can make your own road.
Yeah, I was going to say Fleetwood Mac said that.
Make your own road. He decided to make a test mule of his Holt number 77 steamer and replace its wheels with a set of wooden planks chained together. On Thanksgiving Day of 1904, he used the machine to plow the soggy Roberts Island Delta.
And that was the first muleless carriage.
Holt patented his idea for a practical continuous track for use with the tractor on December 7th, 1907, a date which will forever live in infamy. He dubbed
Larry Bird's birthday. Damn, he's old.
He dubbed his invention the traction engine and started the work of producing his new tractor. What he didn't know was that across the pond, one Richard Hornsby and Sons of England.
The Atlantic Ocean, not the pond that formed in the San Joaquin Valley. Okay.
Richard Hornsby and Sons in England patented a tractor with steel-plated tracks as well. Holt's tractor on rails would turn using front wheel steering, but those Hornsby blokes had made one that turned using differential braking of the tracks, eliminating the forward tiller and steering wheel.
So that's like how tanks...
Yeah. Levers. So they made a few of these and sold them to operate in the Yukon Territory. Fortunately for Holt, Hornsby and Sons never managed to sell enough of their tractors to stay in business, and they sold their patent to Holt in 1909, just 2 years later. Holt was stoked, and while shooting a promotional photo of the thing, his cameraman saw the tracks undulating in the muck and quipped, "Moves like some kind of caterpillar." Holt agreed, and the name Caterpillar was born.
Was that a true San Joaquin Valley accent?
They probably just talk like me, so I'll just say it. And quipped, "It moves kind of like a caterpillar."
I think his cameraman was from Ireland.
His cameraman?
Yeah, the guy who said this.
Oh.
I think he was from Ireland.
It moves like a caterpillar.
Not every Irish person is a leprechaun.
Yeah.
That wasn't a leprechaun voice.
Why is he so high up?
It was a very high voice.
Prepubescent Irish
Maybe
photographer.
He was a young boy.
Maybe it was an 8-year-old photographer.
Moves like a caterpillar.
I was in Paso Robles. And it happened to coincide on the weekend. They had Pioneer Day.
Edgar's our only
Day in Paso.
Spanish speaker over here. And he's
well, it's not. I know it's not how one
Paso
would
Robles.
say it.
Yeah.
It's right, but it's how they say it. Paso Robles.
like San Pedro.
Yeah, we love flattening
everything.
the beautiful
Yeah.
Spanish language into something that a dimwit could pronounce. Yes.
Yeah, because we're Americans.
Yeah. Well, I
Don
come from that area. I can say that.
Quixote.
Yeah.
Famous novel. Anyways, so they drive a bunch of old farming equipment down Main Street.
Oh.
And, they have Caterpillar tractors that very old, but you can see, and it was the first time I know I felt very stupid when my brain did this to me, but the old Caterpillar name, like not everything was stoic and stamped and minimalist. it had the letters Caterpillar and the little tread around it and undulating. And it looked, and I was like, so definitely they called them a Caterpillar. Like, I just felt it was one of those where it's like, oh, I'm an idiot. I never thought of that.
I never thought of that either.
But anyways, they do look, when you watch those old ones move like that, they do just look like little caterpillars going over across.
The track is not as taut as like a normal one, or a modern day one, so it does look like it's like deek-durk.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's like what?
Deek-durk.
See if we can find that old logo.
We'll be right back after these messages. This show is sponsored by Indeed. I've hired 1 million writers for Donut, and hiring fast is key, but you also have to hire the right person. That's why I use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it makes hiring so easy. Everything is in one place, and you just find the right candidates faster. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/passgas. Just go to Indeed.com/passgas right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/passgas. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. This podcast is brought to you by Hims. For men, dealing with ED can be uncomfortable, which is why Hims provides access to a comfortable solution with an all-online process and personalized treatment options. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your own couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable tablets, Viagra and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% less. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just fill out the intake form on their site and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you for free. There's no insurance needed and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/gas. That's HIMS.com/gas for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/gas. The featured products include compounded products which are not approved nor verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Now back to the show.
In 1914, World War I began. At the start of the war, there were already about 1,200 of Holt's Caterpillar tractors in Europe being used for agriculture. But since the war broke out, governments began testing them for field use. Holt's machines were quickly converted to gun tractors to haul huge pieces of artillery by the British, and other countries soon followed suit. Before Hornsby sold his track-driven differential brake-turning patent to Holt in 1909, he was working with another English company to develop tanks for the British government.
I know it sounds awesome, like you would just take a tractor and put a shit ton of guns on it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want that word to mean. But what a gun tractor is it is a tractor that pulls the large artillery guns behind them.
Okay, so it has no guns on it.
No.
Right.
He collaborated with William Foster and Company in 1907 to develop kerosene engines to power tanks.
Foster's.
And kerosene is jet fuel?
I know you can run diesel engines on kerosene, right? Yeah. Because we did that when we were doing the Mr. Beast jet car thing.
Yeah.
We were like running on fumes in our diesel truck that we were using to tow the car. It was the middle of the night. We're somewhere in Pennsylvania. We go to this gas station. It's closed. They actually like turn the pumps off at night. And if you run a diesel truck completely empty, you're kind of fucked. Like there's a whole mechanical procedure you have to go through. So we didn't want to run it completely empty. So we took the jet fuel out of the jet car and put it into our tow rig, and we're able to continue on.
Wow. It was like...
It was cool. No, it just kept chugging along. It was all good.
Diesel engines are so cool.
They're weird.
There's usually an Amazing Race, though. There's a hitch where they're in Europe and they happen to be driving diesel trucks or SUVs or automobiles.
You have to find it.
The Americans, it's like 4 or 5 of them are like, you can gasoline.
Yeah. Oh.
And then they break down.
Oh my God.
And they're like, oh no, I didn't say it was diesel. It's always a big plot point.
The producers' heads exploded on that. Oh, we just lost 5 trucks.
No, that's good TV, man.
Yeah, it is.
Hornsby shared his continuous track technology with the British military, and after the war erupted, the British Army ramped up development on a project that would build some of the very first tanks, which were introduced to the battlefield in 1916. Holt's invention, now dubbed Caterpillar Tread, was being co-opted for military use. But because it was all for the war effort, Holt didn't have a problem with it. In fact, he even posed for photos with a Caterpillar tractor next to a British tank. But as his patented idea was being exploited for the war effort, the fact that it was his patented idea was becoming lost. He allowed it to happen because of the war, but because he let it happen, it would come back to bite him. Caterpillar was beginning to build an international name as soldiers marveled at its capabilities in the muck and the mire of war-torn Europe. But this would become more of a curse than a blessing come war's end. Can you imagine the first time tanks showed up on a battlefield?
You're like, what the f*** is that?
You're in your trench, and the ground starts shaking, I assume.
You hear that.
And then they win the battle, and you're like, thanks.
Yeah. Or a tank going over your trench.
Oh my God.
That'd be crazy.
There was and I don't know which movie it was. I'm guessing maybe it was Saving Private Ryan because of the time that this happened. But there was a moment where the guys are like, hey, look out, tanks. And the French subtitle was, attention, merci. That's true. That's true. That was the subtitle. Isn't it?
Over those tumultuous and tragic 4 years, the Holt 15-ton tractor became one of the most important vehicles of the war. Upon its end, however, those wartime hero tractors were converted back for agricultural use. This tanked demand for new machines. Tanked demand. And Holt's business found itself struggling. Tanked demand.
We haven't mentioned it yet, but Bart wrote this script, if you haven't noticed, from all the puns going on.
Additionally, Holt had revamped his...
I ran them by my kids. They liked them.
Additionally, Holt had revamped his entire production chain to provide more of the heavier military machines and was having difficulty realigning to agriculture after the war's abrupt end. As if all these troubles weren't enough, the issues were further compounded. While Holt was producing large vehicle for the military war effort in Europe, his biggest competitor, the CL Best Gas Tractor Company, had been receiving government aid to make farm machines to drive the domestic agricultural economy.
And that's not like a clever tractor company name. That was the guy's name, CL Best.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking it was kind of corny and on the nose. But.
Yeah.
What's like Smart and Final? Those were the guys' names who started the grocery store. It's true.
Okay.
No.
It's true. It's not like a catchy name.
Really?
It's
like an Arm & Hammer situation.
Yeah.
Well, that guy's name was Armand Hammer.
Right.
And he didn't start the company, but he bought it.
Oh.
Later on.
You can't use my name. It's mine now.
Which is Armie Hammer's grandpa.
Mr. CL Best was hungry to grow his company and had assumed considerable debt to allow it to continue expansion, especially for the production of its newest machine, the Best Model 60 track layer. I'm going to lay some track. If you think track layer sounds eerily reminiscent of a machine that runs on tracks, aka Caterpillar tracks, you are not alone, because Holt thought so too. For the 2 years after the war, and even a few during the war, Best and Holt were embroiled in a bunch of contractual, trademark, and patent infringement lawsuits that further drove both companies into debt. In fact, between 1907 and 1918, the Best and Holt companies had spent about $1.5 million in legal fees fighting each other.
Is that
what's that
nowadays
today?
money?
Like $1 billion.
That lawyer's
A lot.
Yeah,
fat as hell, you know.
I get 40%.
I don't care who wins. I'm still getting paid. Ultimately, the future of the company in this tumultuous new era wouldn't fall to Holt. In 1920, Benjamin Holt died at the age of 1971 after contracting pneumonia.
Pneumonia. I was going to say tuberculosis.
Benji's successor was one Thomas A. Baxter. He decided to cut the large tractors from the company's product line and introduce smaller models focused on the agricultural market. When the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1921 funded a $1 billion federal highway building program, Baxter began refocusing the company towards building road construction equipment. And these new Caterpillars helped build our first highways here in the United States. Finally, in 1925, the Holt Company devised a plan to end their long battle with Best. Much of the Best Company's debt had been financed by a guy named Harry H. Fair.
That sounds fair.
The Holt Board of Directors offered to drop all lawsuits if Fair would purchase and merger the two companies. In May that same year, the financially stronger C.L. Best Company merged with the market leader Holt Caterpillar Company to form the Caterpillar Tractor Company.
Yay.
Best Caterpillar. Every time I can't think of the name Holt and not think of Holt.
Steve Holt.
Steve Holt.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it in a while. That was a good character.
With all the ugliness behind them, the Caterpillar Tractor Company could finally thrive. The newly formed Caterpillar Company consolidated its product lines, offering only the best-selling models from the Holt Manufacturing Company's old product line and the C.L. Best Tractor Company's former product line. Sales the first year of the merger were $13 million, or $237 million today.
That's pretty good.
By 1925, sales climbed to $52.8 million, nearly $1 billion today.
Wow.
And Caterpillar was poised to become one of the few companies that would continue to grow throughout the Great Depression of the 1930s.
Their next move was to make beanies.
In 1927, nice. The first original product from the newly merged Caterpillar Tractor Company made its way to consumers. The Model 20 track-type tractor. It was big and it was pricey, but once again, Caterpillar was able to convince their buyers that the amount of earth it could move would more than make up for its cost. A year later, Caterpillar would make the first of many acquisitions by purchasing the Russell Grader Manufacturing Company. The Russell Grader Company made graders.
Oh!
To be dragged behind
like a cheese grater?
No, Bart. It's a grader that's dragged behind a tractor for use in road construction. With their acquisition of all that grader technology, Caterpillar was able to build their first self-powered grader in 1931.
So that's just like a flattener kind of thing?
Yeah.
It's like a blade,
It's a
right?
big blade that effectively drags behind.
Well, you need some serious power to drag a blade through. I guess that's a tiller too.
Tiller would be
like
digging into the ground, like different, like...
Yeah.
This is like a cheese slicer.
Yes.
Okay.
For the road, I would say.
It's more like a
planer?
icing. What's that?
Spatula?
Knife that, but just for the icing.
That's a
Where it's
spatula.
long. All right. So yeah, it's more like a spatula, a tractor spatula.
So you're
For
just
the road,
putting it
for the
at
dirt.
it's like a snowplow.
Well, there's snowplows in front.
Yeah.
This
so
is
this
behind.
is
This is
dragging
dragging behind, and
Yeah.
So
People
you just
still use these all the time. Like
Graders.
if you live out in the country,
Yeah.
you're probably getting your driveway graded
Yeah, okay.
every couple of years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, I get it.
So you're right, Joe. It would take a lot of power to pull one of these things.
How much though? That's always the big question.
The Caterpillar Auto Patrol weighed 7 tons. It was 21 feet long and over 7 feet wide. It was driven by a 35 horsepower gasoline engine.
Okay.
35 horsepower?
Yeah.
That's all it takes?
That's all it takes. And the angle and height of its 12-foot grading blade could be changed in the driver's seat. So this blade is 12 feet wide.
Yeah.
And you could...
I bet it's got a top speed of like 4 miles per hour though.
probably
I bet
not
it's
very fast.
geared so much that
Yeah.
the torque is just much
so
greater
much
than
torque
it
could
seems.
twist the frame off the line.
Did you see that
Yeah,
with the Purell
I
thing?
did see that, yeah. So this technology...
Purell thing?
It was that quote, but it was like one of those automatic Purell dispensers, and every time he put his hand under it, would like twist from the torque.
It made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this technology was super advanced for 1931. The driver's seat was in the middle of the machine, and the engine was in the back, which was a new development. Most tractors before this had a seat in the rear to accommodate the large engines, but this limited the field of view on most larger vehicles. The rear engine setup meant not only more visibility, but also more weight on that blade, and the Auto Patrol quickly gained a reputation as the best in the biz. It was hugely affordable, at $3,100 or about $65K in today's money, which sounds pretty reasonable for a tractor.
If a city is buying that or something.
And with the need for passable roads burgeoning, Caterpillar was now poised to be the biggest name in farm machines and road construction. 1931 was a big year for Caterpillar's brand. It was the year they changed the color of their machines from gray to what they termed highway yellow.
Nice.
And it was also highway yellow. It was also the year that Caterpillar unveiled their first diesel engine, the Caterpillar D9900. Well, I don't know why I said it like that. The Caterpillar D9900.
9900 maybe?
9900? Sure, that sounds better.
All right.
Yeah. This 4-cylinder engine weighed over 5,000 pounds and made 89 horsepower at just 700 RPM.
Wow.
700.
They used this engine, nicknamed Old Betsy. Remember that?
From before, yeah.
From before? That's what Bart has from before. They used this engine in their first diesel tractor, the Caterpillar 60, which had a gross vehicle weight rating of 24,390 pounds and can pull up to 11,991 pounds. That 1 pound.
That's the extra one.
Yeah.
Ours goes up to 11.
Technological advances in road construction created a surge of road building in America during the 20s and 30s. Suddenly, rural areas were no longer isolated from the urban centers of the country. When stuff like this comes up, I always wonder, like, how rural does that mean? Like, okay, so what would be a 10-minute drive outside of town these days?
Yeah.
Like, that'd be...
Yeah, I'm not going to town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be
5 miles away.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Well, the suburban, when it came out, it was, if you were suburban, you didn't have roads.
Right.
So that's why they made it that way.
Crazy. A new network of roads brought these once separate groups together, but those roads demanded constant maintenance and upkeep. In the summer, they needed repair and rebuilding, and in the winter, snow plowing was needed to keep them passable. And what machines maintained these roads? The answer, of course, was Caterpillar. And by the end of the 30s, these Caterpillar machines were being used in everything from road construction to epic road projects like the Hoover Dam and the Golden Gate Bridge.
I'm trying to think how to say this, but they monopolized an industry they created. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there's very few instances where this much development meets this much preparedness.
Yeah.
And they are just in the prime position to own every aspect of a growing country.
Yeah, it's like them and Zildjian symbols.
Yes.
They've been around for like 700 years. It's like, oh, what's this? I don't know. It's a symbol.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, Bart.
It's just kind of snowballs where it's, all right, okay, we can do that. Now that we have these, we can do that. And it just keeps building and building and building.
Yeah. And then it coincides with some of the biggest government projects ever made. Or, like aside from war, there's the highway project, which was $1 billion back then, which I can't even calculate now.
Also, the Hoover Dam.
Hoover Dam, Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
The White House. I don't know.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know how to check that you have your route downloaded first before taking off on a long road trip. Getting lost is one of the worst feelings. Checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Potential savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate North American Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Now back to the show.
As it was during their efforts in World War I, during World War II, most of Caterpillar's attention was focused on helping the fight in Europe. Caterpillar dozers, tractors, and graders were all highly valuable in the Allied efforts to hold back the Axis powers. Additionally, their expertise in building Caterpillar tracks was hugely important in supplying the U.S. military with what were quickly becoming known as tank tracks. But unlike World War I, in which the U.S. fell into economic downturn, after the Second World War ended, America experienced an economic boom. Returning GIs received educational and housing benefits, which meant more Americans could find high-paying jobs and afford more housing than ever before. America's middle class exploded, and the country was growing fast. All this growth meant more construction, more housing, more roads, and more businesses. Additionally, all of Europe had to rebuild, which opened up the market for U.S. goods and equipment. And who would be supplying all that necessary heavy equipment?
Ford.
So close, Bart.
Try one more time, though.
Caterpillar?
That's
we've been talking about Caterpillar the whole time.
The 50s were a big... actually, before we move on to that, have you guys watched The Pacific? No. It's like the same people made Band of Brothers, but it's focused on the...
right.
Pacific.
No, I haven't, though.
Okay.
Is David Schwimmer in it?
He's not in it. No Captain Sobel, unfortunately.
You guys don't listen
He's
to me.
great in Band of Brothers, but The Pacific is a lot different. It's a lot gnarlier. But dude, there's like they don't really focus on him in the show too much. But the Seabees, like the engineers that follow the Marines, basically like with tractors to clear roads and debris and stuff while under fire, is so crazy.
That's crazy.
And I wonder if they're probably driving Caterpillar tractors too onto the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think about that sometimes. I just sit there. I think about the bravery.
How often do you think about World War II?
Not that often. I'm not going to sit here and cap and be like, "That's my Roman Empire
every day."
No, I don't. I don't. But I mean, that show, I think, is like Band of Brothers is, I think, one of the best shows ever made.
Yeah.
But The Pacific is one of the most harrowing, I think, because there's really no glory in it at all. I think they don't try to.
Got it. No romanticism.
It's not romanticism. Yeah. It's brutal.
It's not like we're brothers and we're banded together.
Right.
Let's get these Nazis.
Yeah. There's no like soaring trumpet soundtrack.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Check it out. Check them out. The 50s were a big decade for Caterpillar. The rebuilding of Europe meant highway yellow tractors were moving earth in more places than ever. They were helping to finish the 741-foot tall Bokhara Dam in India, and they opened their first European office as the Caterpillar Tractor Company Limited in London in 1950. In 1953, Caterpillar debuted their first integrated track loader, dubbed the number 6 Traxcavator.
Oh, I like that.
That's good.
Rather than using attachments or simple dozing blades to move the earth, the Traxcavator was a hydraulically operated 8-foot bucket that could lift earth more than 10 feet off the ground and bring it to wherever you want and dump it on or in whatever you want.
However many bodies you want to bury at one time.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's morbid.
Yeah, so... And thanks to U.S. mission Operation Deep Freeze to Antarctica, 1956 would mark the year that Caterpillar machines could be found on every continent on Earth.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat, dude.
I've only been to 6.
Have you really?
No. I've been to 2? Yeah, 2.
I've been to 3.
I've been only to 2.
I haven't been to Asia.
Me neither. I want to go.
I want to go to Africa.
Yeah.
You been to Africa?
I tasted the rains down there.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You went there?
Yeah. And it rained. I was in South Africa.
Caterpillar was quickly becoming a company who had found an exploitable niche, and the niche was quickly proving itself to be everything. They were making tractors, graders, loaders, bulldozers, and more. The company found success by hiring innovators with field experience and constantly probing their markets to see what kind of vehicles they could develop to meet unfulfilled needs in the industries that required heavy machinery.
So, like you were talking about, like they're making this industry from scratch, basically. They're also looking into the future and like talking to people in the industry,
like hiring them.
Yeah.
To be like, if you've done this forever, if you could design something, what would it be? Great. Let's make it.
What are your needs? What's the hole in the market? Let's make that machine.
In 1962, they introduced their first haul truck, the Cat 769. This off-highway rear dump truck had a 35-ton capacity and brought the Cat name into the construction and quarry industries. It was huge and harkened back to Caterpillar's earlier days when all of Holt's first instincts were to make things bigger.
Before this, people just carried stones out one at a time. Just a big line of people.
Yeah. I don't think that's too untrue, though. That's how they built the pyramids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Aliens did it.
So the 769 was almost 30 feet long, 13 feet wide, and just under 12 feet tall. When empty, it weighed 40 tons, but when fully loaded, it weighed in at a whopping 78.5 tons. That's 157,000 pounds.
My God.
Just a little bit lighter than your mom. Nothing like this.
Hey.
Nothing like this had been made before, and it changed the way construction and mining crews cleared debris. Caterpillar had made a number of newer iterations of this behemoth, but all of them owe their success to this first massive dumper.
Remember, we used to quantify everything's weight and how many Nolans it was?
That's a lot of Nolans. Let's calculate how many Nolans that would be. We did used to do that, and it wasn't.
It didn't make me feel good.
That's only 682.6 Nolans.
That's actually way less Nolans than I thought.
I know. I thought so too. I thought so too.
That can't be right.
Let's try it again. What did I
think
say?
you might be off by a
157,000?
power of 10, yeah.
Yeah, 682,000. Or 682, not thousand, 682 Nolans. So. Could 682 of me fit in that truck is the question.
Yeah, we've been talking about bodies.
We've been talking bodies. Another need Caterpillar helped meet in the 60s was that of the U.S. government to go to the moon. Caterpillar provided the diesel engines that powered the communication systems in an off-grid area that made communication with the Apollo astronauts possible.
Oh, that's not what I thought
Yeah.
it was going to be.
What do you think it's going to be?
They made a little tiny grater for the moon.
The 10 Caterpillar diesel generators powered an 18-foot tracking antenna in North Carolina and facilitated the iconic communication of one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind to every corner of the globe. In 1972, Caterpillar introduced its first customer-ready hydraulic excavator, the Model 225. To make it stand out from competitors, the marketing team asked for the undercarriage to be painted black, which is something Caterpillar still does to this day. The 225 was able to lift, dig, and load more than ever, revolutionizing what was possible at job sites and quickly becoming a global leader in the excavator market. It dug. It dump. It dump.
It dump.
Does it say it dump?
It dumped. And it spun its big old bucket around without treads turning. It redefined what the excavator could do and set a new standard in construction.
Is the cab.
Yeah.
This is the first time the cab swivels instead
That's
of
cool.
turning.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, that is cool.
After this, things get a little bit nuts, but in a good way. In 1979, Caterpillar tweaked their highway yellow to the official Caterpillar yellow we know today. By this time, they're making literally every kind of construction vehicle you can think of, including the iconic D10 type tractor. By 1986, Cat unveiled the D11, and in 2001, they unveiled the D12.
Oh, nice. Royce to 5.9. Bizarre.
Yeah. Caterpillar is continually innovating to better meet the needs of the industries they serve. As they say, bigger is better. Through the early 80s, Cat had been conducting extensive market research, probing for shortcomings in not only their own offerings, but oversights by the industry as a whole. Thousands of hours of competitive product evaluations and close to 2,000 customer interviews were conducted to determine what people needed but were missing in existing backhoe loaders. By 1985, this inquiry yielded the Cat 416 center pivot backhoe loader, an all-in-one construction, quote, fait accompli. If you've ever been a kid who stumbled on a construction site, you've seen this backhoe.
I got arrested at a construction site for stealing insulating material that we were going to make a huge airplane out of.
Oh. What?
Yeah. Because there's a bluff that we were like, oh, if we made a huge like glider airplane, we could throw it off the bluff and it would sail like into the middle of Lake Michigan. So me and my friend Jackson Lindsay snuck onto this site, which is now a Culver's. And it was
Is that the one by your house?
Yeah. That Tivec pink insulation that's like real hard foam. And we were stealing like, I think 3 of them. And we got arrested. We got trespassed.
We brought these here. These were ours.
But then afterwards, we waited for the cop to go, and then we just went and grabbed them. Anyways.
Wait, you did get arrested? Or you just got like,
no,
hey,
we got
kids,
tickets.
put those...
We got tickets for trespassing.
For unlawful.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then he stole it anyway.
Yeah.
And then we went to that Culver's when we went to your house.
And there was a really cold corner
Yeah,
There's clearly not.
So that's what that is. Okay. So anyway, sorry. The 416 cat is your
that's
classic
iconic.
gecko. So you got the big shovel on the front,
Yeah.
the bucket on the back with the arm. You know, I never thought of it as an all-in-one.
Yeah.
But now it's like clearly obvious that's what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got the bulldozer and what was the other guy? Not the 225. The
D10.
Scoop.
it's like a 225 and a
225 meets a
D10 mixed
D10.
together, but with wheels instead of tracks.
Yeah, that's an all-in-one.
Yeah. The Caterpillar 994K wheel loader was unveiled in 1990, and it's so good that most of the ones sold in 1990 are still in use today.
Wow.
And they're still making them new from the factory. That's a 35-year-old model rolling off the line. The 994K has an operating weight of 534,852 pounds and can carry 42 tons in its bucket while the bucket is in the air.
What?
It's an enormous machine, Joe. Damn, that thing's big, dude.
This is turning me back into like a toddler.
I know. It's like easy to see how people like get into like it's because it's nuts.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
like the
so
stats
crazy.
on these things are nuts.
Yeah.
I want a game where you. I know there's the company that makes like mud tires and snow or that. It's like a game where you off-road basically,
Mhm.
but they make like a tractor game where you build roads. I want them to make like a mining game where you just dig with this
That'd be
giant
really
tractor.
cool.
That'd be
Yeah.
sick as hell. Yes, bigger may be better, but not always. In 1998, 3 big things came from Caterpillar, 2 literal and 1 metaphorical. The first literal big thing was Caterpillar's 797 mining truck. It's enormous. The first 797 went into service in 1999. It's still hauling today in the Canadian oil fields. The 797 is almost 24 feet tall. It weighs 1.2 million pounds and can carry 400 tons fully loaded and tops out at an impressive 40 miles per hour.
Whoa. God, that's so much mass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so much mass.
Each 797 wheel is attached to the axle using 54 1.4-inch nuts that are torqued to 2,300 foot-pounds.
What?
The tires on this monster were a unique size as well. They're 5580 R63 radial tire.
Put it into Tire X. See what it costs.
Okay, developed by Michelin in conjunction with Caterpillar. They're about 13 feet tall and 11,000 pounds each.
You know, I've watched these tires getting repaired on YouTube videos,
Mhm.
and it's a crazy process because the rubber is so thick that if there's like a tear or something in it, they literally just like drill it out
Mm.
and then they fill it with some compound with it, like on a huge scale of
Yeah,
what they would normally do
that makes
to
sense.
patch a tire.
Yeah.
But just the drilling out takes hours. They have to do it very precisely.
The second big thing was Cat's biggest machine ever. In fact, it's the largest excavator ever made. The 6090 FS excavator weighed over 1,000 tons and could haul an additional 103 tons in its bucket. And it could take that 103 tons and spin around and haul it and lift it and dump it wherever you wanted. Also in 1998, as Caterpillar continued to make such enormous earth-changing vehicles, they realized some of us just want to move some drywall from the flatbed to the job site. You didn't need a bulldozer or a dump truck for that. So, Cat started making a line of compact construction equipment. Skid steers, forklifts, smaller excavators, and more were all being made by competitors at this time, and the decision makers at Caterpillar felt like they had taken their eye off the ball and needed to get back into their century-old roots to provide for the common working man, not just the industrial employer. One of their competitors called themselves Bobcat, and they were making so many small machines that Bobcat was quickly becoming a nickname for these small construction vehicles, a fact that didn't sit well with the original Cat, who took it upon themselves to create a competitor in nearly every small construction vehicle niche. Caterpillar made a point to research competitors and make their responses more powerful, more resilient, and more dependable. It was a century-old strategy and proved successful. Just make good shit and people will buy it.
If you look at in doing this, I went to a number of different like retail pages,
Yeah.
and they just list. It's like, all right, here's all the competitors, and Cat is almost better in every
That's cool.
category.
Dude, I want to drive one of these little skid loaders.
They're pretty fun. There's a little. I haven't done a Cat, but I've been in a few little Bobcats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On like highway stuff.
My buddy Cody
They're
has
fun.
a Bobcat.
They're easy to flip.
Yeah.
Really? Unfortunately, if there's a hill. Yeah.
Throughout the 21st century, CAT has continued making industry-leading machines for every niche of the working man's world. There's so many out there that I bet you can't find a construction site without one. Very few companies can say they changed the world, and even fewer can say that they're literally changed the face of the world. Over the last 130 years, Caterpillar has grown into the world's leading manufacturer of construction and mining equipment, off-highway diesel and natural gas engines, industrial gas turbine and diesel-electric locomotives, and you can bet they'll continue to churn out these magnificent, jaw-dropping Caterpillar yellow earth movers for years to come. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to that one. Caterpillar, big old tractors.
Big old excavators, big old do-it-alls.
Do-it-alls. Follow Bart at BidsBardo. Follow Joe at Joji Weber. Follow me at Nolan J. Sykes if you'd like. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.